Hello and welcome to Cereal at Midnight. My name is Heath, and this is an episode about Smallville. Now, if you've been following this channel for a long time, you know that I did a full unboxing review. We talked about the video quality of this Smallville Blu-ray box set. But I didn't want that to be the only video about Smallville here on the channel. And here's the thing. I've just finished, just finished my full 10-season rewatch. I started when I got the Blu-rays. I've just finished all 10 seasons. And while I watched this series as it was airing on television, I watched the premiere the night it came on television, and I was a fan. Weekly appointment television for me for years and years. I was buying the DVDs, but that's a span of 10 years. I've watched the entire 10 seasons here in this rewatch relatively back to back. And I've never done that before. So I have a new appreciation for some of this stuff. And I wanted to just get it all down on a video, how I feel about Smallville, what I like about it, what's been challenging for me about it. So there may be, this video is not intended to spoil Smallville for anybody. Hopefully if you're watching this, you know enough about Smallville to know that Clark becomes Superman. It's ultimately the journey to Superman. But if you're super worried about spoilers, just be careful, because I'm going to talk about aspects of the show. So I love it so much more now than I even did earlier. I've always loved Smallville, as I say. I was so excited. If you watch that unboxing video, I'm so excited. This series means a lot to me. Superman is one of my favorite heroes, if not now, my absolute all-time favorite hero, because he's an ideal, because he's this idea of goodness, right? He has had the family values instilled upon him by Jonathan and Martha Kent, that you do the right thing because you can, and it's not an obligation, it's a privilege. It's something that because you can help people, you do help people. And that is hard to capture in today's day and age. Even when this was made, Smallville, pretty much, they were working on the third episode when September 11th happened. And so with everything that happened, the series is born at a time when America is about to go to war, and there's all of these things happening in our culture. It could have been a much more cynical series than it was, but it comes through being really pure and really uplifting and really optimistic. And when I watch this show, I just feel good. The creators of the series, the cinematographers, if you watch the special features here, they're talking about how Smallville, Kansas is filmed to look, they use the word buttery, and that's a great word because it's yellow and gold and it's heavily saturated, and it's just that sunshine. And then Metropolis, when they would go to Metropolis, would be kind of that steel blue that we get in so many other television series. So many, everything on TV, you look at Arrow, you look at the Arrowverse, that desaturated cold atmosphere is so prevalent in a lot of what we see. But Smallville had the guts to be this really beautiful, heartwarming, warm, comforting kind of thing. And so it just makes me feel good to watch it. Now, interestingly, I always had problems with certain aspects of the show. Like the will they, won't they between Clark and Lana. It seemed like every episode she would say, "Clark, if you never let me in, you're going to be alone your whole life. Don't you have something you want to tell me?" And he'd be like, "I planned a picnic," or something. And I was like, no! What worked in, how long before Superman before Superman started to reveal his secrets to people, that's the essence of the character, is it's a secret identity. But for weekly episodic television, that's a lot more challenging because we are used to seeing characters develop. You got to end up someplace. You can't have a status quo. I mean, I guess procedurals do, but even procedurals like CSI and Bones or whatever, even those have character development in them. So it didn't work for weekly television. But here's the thing. All the deviations from Superman mythology, 'cause I'm a comics guy. I've been reading comics. I've been reading Superman comics for 30 years. All the deviations from mythology don't matter to me anymore. When I watch this, I'm like, I know where it's going. It'll end up where it needs to go. And also, multiverse. We're in a world now where all these comic properties have multiverses, as they do on the page, the comics page. So there's no pressure to stick to any particular interpretation. And because I've got Superman and Lois, where, if you've never seen that show, Clark and Lois are happily married, they got kids, and it's like a whole new wrinkle to the Superman mythos, taking him beyond into the next phase. We have that. I get to see Superman go shut down nuclear reactors and things like that. I have that. So it gets to be its own thing. And it just, a lot of the things that used to bother me don't bother me anymore. It's interesting to see how this lays the groundwork for Arrow that would come afterwards, for all, Supergirl that would come. Without Smallville, I don't think any of the other shows, the Berlantiverse, I don't think it exists. It went for 10 years. I believe it's still the longest running superhero TV show in history, which is quite a feat because, again, these shows don't seem to be made for a long-term commitment. But it means so much to me. And it's interesting how the show changes. It's essentially a show in two halves, because the first half of the series is really, growing up on the farm, high school, relationships, dating, learning about your powers. And then about halfway, when season 5 ends, they really start moving into, okay, you're a grown-up now. You've got to face the bigger world. They go to Metropolis. We're starting to hang out at the Daily Planet. Lois becomes a bigger part of the series. We got to talk about Chloe. Lana and Lex start to, dial it back a little bit. Everything changes, and you start to realize this is a world with more heroes in it. The things they did with the Justice League, of course, now we got the Justice League movies, but in, 2006, we didn't have those things. The idea of a Justice League movie was impossible, it seemed way too good to ever happen. But this show found a way to do it, to bring together, basically Superman and the Flash and Aquaman and Cyborg and Green Arrow. The way they did Green Arrow for years before there was an Arrow TV series. And in many ways, not always, but in many ways, this Arrow is much truer to the comic book Green Arrow than what we saw in the Berlantiverse, which I feel like that was kind of trying to be Batman. In a world where you can't really do a Batman TV series, I feel like Arrow was like, well, let's take some of that Batman influence. But the series in two halves, and then the last half is really bringing Clark to his destiny. And the way that they handle the relationship between Clark and Lois, especially in the last 2 seasons, I love. I got to be honest with you guys. Erica Durant's in the earlier seasons, they're kind of combative. They're kind of like, brother and sister, Clark and Lois. When they start to ship those characters together and like bring them towards, being a couple, like it's probably my favorite Clark and Lois. And I'm saying this knowing full well that there's the Lois and Clark TV series with Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher. But the way that they handled it here, like it had so long to breathe and to evolve. And when you finally start to see those sparks, Erica Durant may have turned into my favorite Lois of all time. I just love what she did with that. Even in the special features, they talk about how she evolved into that part. When they first brought her on, they're trying to avoid Lois and Clark stuff because of the movie Superman Returns. They had to stay away from that. There's actually a company mandate. You can't do this. There can't be any sparks. But once they started to bring them together, like they both evolved into a place where like it's believable, and I love it. Let's talk about Chloe really quick, because that's the one when I did the unboxing, people were like, yeah, but Allison Mack, right? Well, so Allison Mack, yeah, like everybody knows, right? But Chloe is a character. And I love the character of Chloe, and she's such a, I think she's the second, she's appeared in the second most episodes, like, Tom Welling is in the most episodes. I think Allison Mack is the actor that's in the most episodes behind Tom Welling. If that's not accurate, it's close. She's in a lot. I think it's 200 episodes of a 217 episode series, I think is what it is. She is a through line. She is the heart of the series in a lot of ways. When in the early seasons, when Clark is going through so much of his stuff, the character of Chloe is grounding him. She is such a vital part of the series. It's a shame what happened, but for me, they're different. It's Allison Mack and Chloe are not the same. She brought Chloe to life, but Chloe exists, in this fictional world, and when she was not in episodes, I missed her being in episodes. I do want to talk the way they do some of the villains here. So here's some of the things that bothered me this time. Like I was saying, like because there's a multiverse now, the things that used to bother me about the relationships and like the will they won't they, that doesn't bother me much anymore. What does bother me now is like, why bring in Doomsday if you're not going to be true to what Doomsday is, or you're not going to show this culmination of the thing you've been setting up all season. I didn't really connect with Zod like I had hoped to connect with Zod. They have to stay away from some of this stuff because they're like, well, that's not really our story to tell. That's still in the future. So, well, why did you bring him in, And then, okay, so I guess this is kind of a spoiler, but the way that I'll keep it vague. The way that they end the series with a certain character coming back after having been away for 3 years, I don't think that works. They didn't give that character anything to do. And if you're going to bring a character back only to do like, amnesia or, that kind of a thing, just don't do it. But then again, it wouldn't have been the same if that character hadn't been there. So I don't know. A lot of things have been said about the finale and the fact that we never. This is okay, spoilers, but like it's okay, right? It's not a big deal. We never see Tom Welling in the costume. That's the thing. Is we never see Tom Welling in the Superman costume. I am okay with this because it was never the Superman TV series. It was always about Clark. I gather from what I've seen in interviews and behind the scenes stuff that Tom Welling did not want to be in that costume. He was adamant about not being Superman. So when we do see Superman, it's CGI. And we only get really one shot of the chest, the suit under the shirt. I'm okay with this. What I'm not okay with, the last episode leaps 7 years. And I'm like, why did you do that? Why did you choose to leap 7 years? And I can see I see how they got there, but I'm like, you had all series to plan for this, and then it feels rushed at the end. Will I feel that way in another 10 years? I don't know. Because again, there's so much less pressure on it. I really loved the character of Tess this time around. Cassidy Freeman's character. I've connected with her a lot more this time. I don't know, man. Smallville it's a feel-good show, and it's remarkably uncynical, and that's so rare. Now we have Supergirl, which I'm a big fan of because it's also kind of the same thing. But when I look at what this show did for comics and for comic book shows, Justice League, Justice Society, they did the Wonder Twins of all things, Martian Manhunter, John Jones. They did so many. They did Booster Gold. Can you believe they did Booster Gold on a weekly episodic TV series? I don't know. So I already feel a void. I already feel sad that I've ended this. I've been going back and watching some of the special features. Actually, all of the special features, all the documentaries. I haven't listened to all the commentaries yet. Each season has usually 2 commentaries per season, which is kind of pitiful if you think about it. But there's so many, the visual effects stuff, the Chloe Chronicles, the Vengeance Chronicles, and then there's 2 bonus discs that are included here. I think they were also in the DVD set, but those are great. They've got a retrospective looking back at 10 years of the series, so that helped soften the blow a little bit of being done. And I just watched. There's the documentary is called Secret Origins: The Story of DC Comics, 90-minute documentary narrated by Ryan Reynolds. Right before he did Green Lantern. It's from 2010. That's included in the set as well. Just talking about DC Comics as a whole. Smallville has a place in DC Comics history forever. It brought so many people to Superman. It brought so many people to comics. And it changed the way comic book stories could be told on television. The effects, the writing, the direction, while never flawless, never, without bumps, consistent and always upward reaching, always going for something bigger than what it could have been. You look at a series like Superboy, from the 80s, or even Lois and Clark. Nothing else is quite like Smallville, and I kind of just want to start it over again. I don't think that I will, but I kind of want to do that. What do you think about Smallville? I would love to know. Just continue the conversation in the comments below here. I'm such a Superman fan. I'm such a DC Comics fan. It's funny. I grew up a Marvel kid. I was always, like, I read Superman. I read Batman, and some of the big DC heavy hitters. But I always identified more with Marvel. Now, as an adult, there's something about the mythic nature of DC, the legacies, how the fact that like Green Lanterns, you've got 3, 4, 5 versions of Green Lantern, the multiple Flashes now. There's something about the myth. It's almost like a fairy tale kind of. Marvel's like, Spider-Man's like, I gotta pay the power bill. There's something about DC that feels so mythic. They are gods, right? Gods living among us that struggle with some of the same stuff that we do, but I connect with that more than I ever did. When I was younger, I was like, I can't really relate to this. Now I don't want to relate. I just want ideals. And Superman is the ideal. He is the ultimate. They call him the Big Blue Boy Scout. I'm reading Superman in the 50s, which is a comic book collection. And there's an intro to that. I cannot remember who wrote the intro to that. It might be Mark Waid. But he talks about how Superman was the big blue Boy Scout. And in the 50s, they really started to call him the big blue Boy Scout. And they're like, guys, that's a good thing. He is an object of morality. He's an object of ethics that we can learn from. And with so much crazy, like if you look at where Superman comes from in the 30s and in the 40s, becoming that ideal is actually really, really cool. I think we need that. We need some North Stars to guide our ships by. So that's what I think about Smallville. What do you think about it? I'll put, I'll add a link in the description for this box set if you want to pick it up. You'd be supporting Serial at Midnight. But more than anything, I just want to talk about Smallville and I want to talk about Superman. Let's continue that conversation, guys. Thank you so much. Take care. Until next time, I will catch you later.